So, closed beta test Hwoarang. I got 20 hours-ish in on this character, both on stream and off stream. And wow, this character has had some interesting changes moving from the closed network test to the closed beta test. Now, a little bit tidbit, I did say I was gonna try to record this during the last day of the closed beta test, but long story short, I couldn't. So we're gonna do it the same way as a closed network test. Got a whole presentation here with all listed changes. You just gotta use your imagination a little bit. And, you know, here we go. Again, there's a total of seven changes in the closed beta test. In the closed network test, there were 8 from Tekken 7 moving forward to Tekken 8. Now, you know, from this version, 7. So -1. Can't be that bad, right? Well, bad or good. Depends on how you want to look at it. But the first change is pretty neat because we got a new 10-frame punish. So again, list of punishes here. You know, 1-1, 1-2, 1-2-3. 1-2-3 being his best punish because it gave him like a huge mix-up. You already know that. I don't have to repeat that. But 2F3 though, they made this a natural combo. They didn't make 2F4 a natural combo. I guess that's too far a reach. A little bit too strong too if they gave that. But 2F3, 23 damage. He's taking a page out of his rival's book, Jin Kazama. He's like, you got Switchblade? Alright, 2-4. I got 2 forward 3. Now his 2 forward 3 is essentially Tekken 7's wall crush. Because if you do it in open, there's huge pushback on hit. Now most of the time, if someone gets hit by this in open as a punish, do not expect them to press a button. You're not going to be getting a free whiff punish here. Most of the time. So you're just going to be taking your damage and like be on your way, you reset back to neutral. Pretty good stuff. However, if it's at the wall, let's say an opponent does something that's -13 or down. For an example, let's say Leroy, back 1+2, to like attempt to get out of Hwoarang pressure. You punish them with 2 forward 3 for that. Boom. It's like be prepared to get a DF4, 3-4 forward 2 or a CD3 mid check. So that's how you're gonna lock them in because of like the massive frame advantage you have. And the more you condition them to that, that's when you open up 1-2-3 or 1-2-4 on block. Maybe you're gonna throw out, hey, I didn't list up 4. You could throw out up 4 there too. That sounds great. And then you're gonna start hitting them with lows if they're really just stand blocking at the wall for their life. So, you know, the meme of like being in LFF, it's like a full LFF Hwoarang, no stances whatsoever. I think that dream is getting closer and closer. they're about to make it a reality here in Tekken 8. So that's for the first change. The second change, they nerfed a couple of LFS tools. Now, not a couple, just a pair. And it's an interesting pair because these are key moves to Hwoarang. While standing 3, man, was that a gem. In previous iterations of Tekken, all the way from, I'd like to say, maybe Tekken 5 onwards, because I didn't really play much of Tekken 3 or Tekken Tag 1, but you can just check the move list there if you see while standing 3. It probably more or less operates the same. Its tracking is amazing. It was like -6 to -7 on block. But now in Tekken 8, they said that move's a little bit too good. We don't want you like checking opponents left and right with like a while standing 3 and getting an FF3 or a back 3 right after that. We're gonna make it -12. Alright. Now, it isn't the end of the world with it being -12 because you can still risk it. Like, there are gonna be a couple of situations from when I was playing that, yeah, I need to check with wall standing 3 here. Before, like, I start, you know, going to, like, moves that really track towards that side because the opponent's stepping towards that side or this side. Or they're interrupting me, and I'm gonna try to do an instant wall standing 3. Okay, so you do the instant wall standing frames for that. Oh, okay, I got interrupted, so I can now do this. So it's still a useful move. It's just that you have to, like, be more calculated on how you use it. A lot of my sets off stream, I was okay for the most part without it. I wish I could show you some of those sets, but they were all off stream. The ones on stream, however, you would hear me complain. yeah, but again, links in the description below for both of those. Both the one that got uploaded, which is the match VODs, and the whole stream itself. I would complain like, damn, right, I can't do while standing 3. But I got used to it. And it was fun, like, fitting the puzzle pieces together on how to make it work in Tekken 8. The other thing is Just Frame Skyrocket, or JFSR, or if you're gonna call it Lethal Skyrocket, LSR, has no pushback on block anymore. So in previous Tekkens, if you threw out a JFSR, the opponent got pushed back. A little. And it was -10, right? Until they changed it in Tekken 7 to make it -8. And it's still -8 in Tekken 8 in the closed beta test. However, there's no pushback on block. So imagine it like it's Heihachi's OTGF. There's no pushback on block on that. You can't squeeze a button ever. If ever you squeeze the button, it was like a down jab or a parry. That's the most you could do. So no more squeezing in a back 4 or a DF2 or simply backdashing, even sidestepping. Depending, of course, on what the opponent presses. Because if the opponent locks you in, let's say it's a Hwoarang mirror, you throw out JFSR to the Hwoarang, the other Hwoarang's just going to lock you in with a DF4. You can't move. But there are some cases where, again, where they hold forward, they dash in to like take advantage of like the -8 frames. They press a button that's a little bit short, so your backdash could, evade it. Or you could interrupt them with a back 4 or DF2. Or even, if they press the fast move, you could back 1 or back 2. There was a lot of cheesy stuff you could do. So it being your main launcher for checking crouchers, because no other launcher in Hwoarang's toolkit is safe when it launches a croucher, you have to take a mix. So this is just a different change somewhat. Again, you were pretty much taking mixes for the most part right after JFSR, even in previous Tekkens. Like if the opponent really took advantage of it. But here, all the more, they don't even have to. Like if they just press a DF1, you're never evading it. In Tekken 7, you could evade it with a back 1, of course, not with a sidestep. So that's the 2 LFF changes they made to 2 of his like main key tools. The third change is they moved a bunch of inputs around, right? Which is very interesting. Mainly the up back 2, or as you can see here in the presentation, back 2. That's right. So back 2, still back 2 in LFF. But if you check the Tekken 8 move list, you're going to see it's listed as up back 2. But in the bottom right, it's going to say you can still input it as back 2. So this is a big thing. Because you could only do it in left foot forward before. But now you can do it in 2 additional things. While standing, so when you're crouching, and right foot forward. Now, if a move is -13 and recovers standing, a low in particular, and you didn't want to go to the while standing 4-4 situation because you keep getting blown up there or you're having a hard time like locking your opponent in, you can just up back 2. I never really got to test it because we didn't have repeat action in the closed beta test. But let's say, imagine Jin down back 4, -13 on block. Up back 2. Now you get your plus 10 kg, and now it's a mix between JFSR and down 3-4. It's great. It's amazing. Or you can FF3 them, because FF3 is like even faster now in Tekken 8, which is a huge plus. Also, RFF gets an evasive move, because for the most part, the evasiveness RFF had was like a down jab, so you high crushed, or you crouched into FC3, FC4. Again, Tekken 7 stuff, not referring to Tekken 8. And then RFF back 3 and RFF back 4 to high crush. So essentially, low crushing was like up 4, up 3+4, up forward 4, up back 4, up 3. Yeah, they were fine. You could also throw out a neutral hop kick. But now, you can step towards the left, not towards the right, because that's back 1, that's stealth needle. But now you can step towards the left in RFF. So let's say you're in RFF, you do like RFF 2-1, you're 0 on block, and you feel like they're gonna challenge you. Nah, up back 2. And it's homing too. Before I forget, it is now a homing high. Interesting change they gave it. Another one is that F2+3, you know that throw where he jumps over the opponent, can now be done in all stances. Like now it can be done in RFS as well, because that was the only stance it could not be done from. The trade-off is that it no longer causes floor breaks. So an example of this is that, let's say you're in Azucena's stage, you broke the balcony, and then now left the floor break, right? If you do F2+3, you're never going to break the floor. Ever. Whether you did that from LFF, RFF, LFS, RFF. No. But, let's say you do the RFS F4 mix-up, you get RFS F4 on block, or even on hit. You can check them now with an I-12 grab. And you can also like get out of the situation faster. So like if you prefer RFS as a Hwoarang player, like every time, let's say you get a punish. Let's say you're stuck at the wall. They did something that's, -10. 1, 2, 4, and then F2+3. Now you're out of the wall. Instead of like consciously telling yourself, I gotta do 1, 2, 3 at this moment, so I can get, an F2+3. Like 80% guaranteed F2+3. For as long as they don't high crush me, right? So now you can do it from, it doesn't matter what flamingo you're at. So that's a plus. Another one is that LFF down back 3. can now be done in RFF as RFF down back 3. So now add that to the list of other high crushing moves that you can do in RFF. And I might dare say it's better than the old RFF down back 3. Because they buffed down back 3 here in Tekken 8. On counter hit, it has the Dragunov effect when he gets down 2. And it's huge. So the sauce for that is like, let's say you get counter hit down back 3 or counter hit RFF down back 3. You do FF3, crouch cancel FF3 immediately. Because if you do while standing 4, while standing 3, or up forward T plus 4 forward, and those doesn't sound as great. And if they did lab up forward T plus 4 forward, which puts him in left flamingo, again, that's -2 on block. It's the same thing. It's exactly the same situation as Hwoarang DF13 on block. You know, FF3 just locks them into like a plus situation. Or, you know, disadvantage for them, advantage for Hwoarang. And then, at that point, when you get the FF3, your options, you can do another RFF down back 3. You can do... I'm going to spoil it already. Well, it's not really a spoiler. You can already see it. RFF down 4-4. If he launches on counter hit. Backlash. JFSR. RFF F1. RFF F1 plus 2. Like, the possibilities are endless when you get a counter hit on LFF down back 3. Like, just lock them into plus frames every single time. And so, speaking of which, again, RFF down back 3-3 no longer is in RFF. It's only in RFS now. As RFS down 3-3, and you don't get anything on this on counter hit. Just like a soft knockdown. Yeah, I can wave into an Oki, like into another FF3 or an RFF DF3, take your pick. Now, LFF down 4-4, I spoiled it, yeah. This is now also RFF down 4-4, which is big because it affected a lot of the tracking for Hwoarang in right foot forward situations. Down 4 tracks quite well. You may want to become an RFF down 4-4 or an LFF down 4-4 believer. Down 4-4 believer, that's right. Because of its tracking. Not because it, you know, jails. Not because it has that crazy thing. No. Because of its tracking. It's a big one. The launching and the jailing, that's a bonus. It being -13, that's a bonus. Never getting launched for this thing anymore. Now, of course, on block, you could potentially get launched, but on hit, nah. Now, RFF down 4, since they moved this, right? The stomp is now in down T plus 4 of RFF, which is alright. I wasn't really confused when I was pressing this button. And it's still the same frame data for the most part, so it's great. You know, you can do like an RFF down 3 plus 4 into an RFF down 4 and RFF down back 3. Again, it's fantastic. So you have more lows. Imagine that. You have like 4 lows. Technically 5, because you can do down back 4 from RFF in RFF. Wow. Yeah, the possibilities, they're just increasing. And LFS/LFF DF3-4 Double Claymore, the move he got from his master, can now also be done in RFF as DF2 plus 3, 4. Now that's a little bit tricky of an input. I wasn't really pressing this button as much because when I did lab it, its tracking is not the same as the LFF and Left Flamingo version at all. It felt weaker actually. But tracking aside, it's still another power crush you can use now. So now you don't just have a high power crush in Backlash, you have a mid power crush. So if you kind of figured your opponent was going to press a button, let's say the while standing 4-4 situation, while standing 4-4 on hit, you felt like, they may press a button. But if it's Backlash, they could like recover from it. All right, I'm going to do DF2-3, DF2 plus 3-4. Now your only error here is that, let's say you're in heat, you could accidentally get heat smash. That's all. If you didn't want to get heat smash. Or even activate heat burst if you haven't activated heat yet. That's the only error for the most part. And basic jab, right? Your 1-2 from left foot forward. You can now do that in RFF. Why? I'm not exactly sure. Because again, RFF2 is such a great RFF jab. Because it's +2. It's essentially the superior jab. But now if you want to do a basic jab and go back to LFF pronto, yeah, you could do RFF F1-2. Now, well, yeah, a basic one too, but they didn't allow you to go to Flamingo. I think that's too strong if they allowed you to like get access to left Flamingo at 10 frames at RFF, since most of the time you only get 10 frames RFS. And we're gonna move over to the 4th change. So again, huge possibilities that you can do with all these input changes. The 4th one is combo routes. I did mention up forward T plus 4 earlier, and you were hearing up forward T plus 4 forward. What's that? Well, because, right, you know, Beck's 3 plus 4, when you hold forward, he's still in 3 plus 4, and then his combos were like 3 plus 4 forward, 3 plus 4 forward, 3 plus 4 forward, right? Hwoarang can do that now. So in the closed network test, they made up forward T plus 4 transition to right foot forward, right? And it was great. You were +4 on hit, and you have the RFF options to work with. And now you have the additional RFF options to work with. You have an up back 2, DF2 plus 3, etc, etc, etc. Now, if you do a hold forward right after up forward T plus 4, up forward T plus 4 forward, not up forward T plus 4, you're like Beck. Essentially, a lot of my off-stream sets, a lot of my combos involved, or I guess if you've seen any other Hwoarang, a lot of the combos do involve up forward T plus 4 forward. Now, on hit, this is amazing. They're like, wow. They gave Hwoarang very strong, now a very, very strong 14 frame punish. Because before, you kind of just got up forward T plus 4 for the damage, and since they made it a wall crush, if it wasn't at the wall, you couldn't really lock them in. You had to go through the loops to condition them. But it was mainly for damage and consistency. Now, you're not just getting consistency, you're getting a mix. If it connects. Because it's +9 on hit. And each of these are all viable. Like up forward T plus 4 if you want left foot forward. Up forward T plus 4 if you want left flamingo. And you press the full string if you want RFF. So you can really change it, and your opponent has to think, what are they going to punish me with? Are they going to go for full damage at right foot forward? Are they going to go for a mix at left? Or are they going to like stay in left foot forward? And it's also all safer on block, by the way. They're not as punishable as before in like Tekken 7. And it's -2 on block. So again, I said it earlier, it's exactly the same. Really exactly the same as the DF1-3 situation on block. So if you lab that perfectly and you know your character's options, you could lock Hwoarang out of it immediately. So it's not a button you can like press all the time, but depending on the matchup, you could. But early into the life cycle of Tekken 8, I expect this move to be very, very cheesy and to hit a lot of people with it. As soon as you get to the middle of the lifespan of the game, when players are like more attuned and they've labbed a couple of things, it's not going to be as annoying. Because if you know how to deal with it in 7, it's essentially copy-paste. It's just that, you know, it's a low crush 14 that goes into... Again, it's a fun. Now, the other thing is that, yes, RFF down 4-4 or LFF down 4-4 is an RFF, right? So now, he has 3 tail flips or 3 ways to convert a combo in right foot forward. So now you have a high, RFF 2-3, you have a mid, right plasma blade, and a low, down 4-4. RFF down 4-4. So a potential combo route, I'll mention the down 4-4 first, because I didn't write it, because, you know, it's not listed here. That's the up forward T plus 4 combos. Is, let's say, you do a DF2, F4, RFS back 3, 2-4, 2, RFS 2, and then you down 4-4. Basically, any situation where you find yourself in RFF mid-combo, you could really just throw out down 4-4 rather than right plasma blade. Again, down 4-4 is pretty consistent in a lot of combos in Tekken 8, so it's a valuable asset in RFF for combo conversions. But for up forward T plus 4 forward, it's kind of like a B&B. Now this is like the combo, one of the combos I was using during the closed beta test. Like back 3, F4, RFS back 3, and then up forward T. Again, you have to dash here before you do up forward T plus 4 forward. And then you just up forward T plus 4 forward again. And then LFS up forward 4 is going to be your main tail flip. And then you do RFF forward 3 and LFS 4-3. You round up at 72 damage. Or, right, getting the consistent combo on RFS DF4 is something you have to practice for because you got to delay forward 2. You know what? Forget delaying forward 2. Forget delaying DF1-3 also. So that you can get a better combo. Nah, just up forward T plus 4 forward. That's 66 damage and very good wall carry. Like 2 or 3 of these, you can push your opponent towards the wall. Wow. You want a lazy wall standing 2-3 combo? As soon as you do wall standing 2-3, up forward T plus 4 forward, up forward T plus 4 forward, up forward. Like you don't even have to think. Like, but of course, to optimize it further, it's gonna be in a lot of the combos for sure. But it's not gonna be like the main thing you're gonna be pressing all the time. It's gonna be pressed twice or thrice. But you could have a board like, I don't know what to do. Say no more. Moving on to the next change. They reduced frame data or frame advantage. Now these moves, these were pressure tools in every single Tekken game you play. Maybe Tekken 5 onwards. Because they were +6 to +7 on block. And if you did an RFF 4 forward, RFF 2-4 forward, or an RFF DF4 forward, you can lock them in an RFS 1 or an RFS DF4. Well, when I say lock, they can't press a button because they can sidestep the DF4, RFS DF4, but they can't step the RFS1 to a specific side. I forgot which side for the most part, but it did track towards one side. So that's great. That's great for Hwoarang. Now it's a +5. Now, yes, the safest option for the opponent is to still backdash or sidestep in these situations. Because if you backdash, you avoid the RFS DF4, and if you step towards the right side, the correct side rather, you're avoiding RFS1. But all the more is that the case because of this +5. So if you throw out a mid, again, these are I-16 mids. And they gave him another I-16 mid in RFS 3-4. That's now going to round up at I-15. Alright? So it means challenges. Players were already challenging this situation before. And that was a huge risk because you could get counter hit launched if you were challenging and not just moving, right? So if they can challenge now and beat the mid, it's like, alright, how do I win in that situation? Well, the one thing you as a Hwoarang player should consider is RFS down 3. Not down back 3. Well, technically you can input it as down back 3, but down 3 for the most part. Because it's I-15. Again, it's +5 on block. So, 15 minus 5, your math comes out 10. And a jab and a down jab are both I-10. So, you'll beat a jab. Why would you beat the jab? Because again, RFS down 3 is a high crush. That's great. Number 2, it should trade with a down jab because you're both I-10. Now, your only problem is that it's a low. It's not a mid. So, like, there are more ways to beat this compared to the mid. The mid that you can pair it up with is RFS 4, I-14. And they made it safer. It's -13 on block. It used to be -14. That hurt a lot. But it will lock the opponent. They can't step it at all. But you have to risk your life for it at -13. So, again, it's not the end of the world. Same thing with the wall standing 3 situation. But compared to the wall standing 3 situation, it's not necessarily as more calculated because if you throw it out, that's it. You know, it's it. -12. Here, you have to like RFS F4, RFS up forward 4, RFS 3-4, RFS up forward 3, RFS back 4. Essentially, these options are going to see a lot of use in these situations. Even in RFS 2, like if you just want to like keep it clean. So there's more interaction from both you and your opponent in this situation. You can't no longer just lock them in and remain extremely safe. You gotta have to like do more information gathering here if you want to press it. Because I had a couple of situations, of course, when it was on stream, I was avoiding it. It's only when I was off stream, I didn't really avoid it as much. And I still really committed to the mid. Because I was really just waiting for the opponent. Are you gonna challenge me or not? That's it. I'm waiting on them first. So that's how I'm setting it up. You could do the same. Do a process of elimination. Are they gonna challenge my mid or not? So I'm gonna do RFS 1 and like be on my way. If you don't challenge that, then I'm fine. The moment you do challenge that, it's an RFS F4 and an RFS 4 immediately for me. So yeah, that's one of the ways that I guess they're making it more interactive and not just giving Hwoarang the full advantage while still keeping him at an advantage. The next change after that is tracking. Now this is huge. Now I'm not gonna list the whole tracking here. If you want to see a couple of the other tracking situations, I will put my Tekken 8 Hwoarang notes in the description of this video. But let's just compare the +5 situation, both in left foot forward and the right foot forward. So right after LFS 1 on block, mainly, because these are key situations, and these are situations that are going to happen often in the game. If they sidestep towards the left, look at particularly what mids you're allowed to press. So DF1 you can press. Great. Its tracking is kind of like buffed. F2, F1 plus 2, I already knew that. And DF3 plus 4. You're actually going to see DF3 plus 4 a lot. This move tracks like crazy at high frames, not at like +1 or 0. But at high frames, this tracks really, really good. Your only problem about this is that you have to risk your life. Again, -13 on block. And then down 3-4, again, this loses a sidewalk left. Including down 4, that loses a sidewalk left. So down back 4 is going to be your old reliable, as you can see here. And down back 3 is only towards one side. So yeah, like you can pause the video or whatever. And just like, okay, that wins here, this wins there. But more importantly, what I want you to look at is the mids. So like, as soon as they step towards the right, look at, you lost F2 and DF1 immediately. Gotta consider that. So it's like, do I throw out DF? Do you want to press a button immediately? That's the thing. So again, you have to watch where they're stepping and then know which button you need to press. Or are you gonna like realign? Are you gonna do a low or do a high? Like these are the moves that really catch opponents for the most part. Your mids have a tendency to lose, as Hwoarang tracking always has been. But it is quite improved. Most especially when we go into RFF, because you had lesser moves in RFF and they added like a ton of moves. Of course, again, no homing moves are being listed here. We're only looking for tracking moves. So again, the highs, they work. And then RFF F1 plus 2, DF3 plus 4. And you notice there's no DF1 here. That tells you it's tracking. I don't know why it changed. I hope my labbing was correct. Because I'm going to double check this again when the game gets released. And maybe they'll change the tracking of DF1 there. The track towards one side to make up for removing, DF1 plus 2. But yeah, you have to F1 plus 2. And I've had situations at plus 5 where RFF F1 plus 2 still lost. Again, a lot of this testing, all of this, was all done on Hwoarang. Like, even in my notes, which will be in the description below, is all on Hwoarang. I'm pretty sure if you test this against Lily, who has the best sidestep in the game, all the more your mids are probably gonna disappear. Maybe except Ignition Barrage, DF3 plus 4. So it's gonna get a little bit harder to track. So it's more or less the same, but there's just more options to work with. Like, you can throw up RFF down 4. That's exactly what I meant, that you should become a believer. It's like, wow, it kind of like works everywhere for the most part. And I guess not, but the last thing, right? Backdash. They gave us an improved practice mode that we could work with in warm-up. And we can set the opponent to backdash. And that got me really excited. Again, I didn't list all the options again. There you can find the rest of the options that I did lab in the notes. But I took the ones that are very key. Mainly DF1. Like, if you throw out a DF1 and hit, how can I catch my opponent? Right? So, JFSR catches on a backdash. Again, it's all tested on Hwoarang also. So if you pick a character that has a better backdash, some of these options might start losing. Some of them, not all of them. Like FF4 should still hit somebody regardless of their backdash, right? Because it's Peacekeeper. It's like advancing towards the opponent. But again, you can throw out a JFSR. You can throw out a forward 2. You can throw out a DF4. Like, you can lock someone in. You could go straight for a heat engager if you felt like they're pressing a button. And you still have lows. Down back 4 catches. Down 4 catches. Down back 3 catches. Wow. Even DF4, this was a problem in Tekken 7. Like, you had a plus 8, but like, I can't use it immediately. Yes, but you could also like still use the plus 8 in multitude of ways. It's just that you really had to like get into it. And of course, mind games and whatnot, blah, blah, blah. Here, if I throw out a DF4 and hit, I can just frame skyrocket you immediately. Or lethal skyrocket you immediately. And again, they put Peacekeeper in RFF, right? So I can just straight up throw out a Peacekeeper. RFF DF3 catches backdashes. Not to mention it's homing. Your right Plasma Blade will catch a backdash. RFF down 4, again. Down 4, RFF down 4, down 4, man. And RFF down back 3 will catch. So it's like, wow, I can really hit an opponent if they backdash. But the Hwoarang effect will come into play when we start doing the new Flamingo homing moves. Here, this is where you gotta work a little bit. This is basically, okay, I gotta do the DF4 in Tekken 7 again. Because DF3 plus 4 catches right after LFS F4 and hit Bex move. Because this LFS F4 is Bex move. And DF3 4. So these are risks. No lows catch for the most part. Like, I didn't get LFS down 4 or down back 4 to catch at all. So again, that requires like double checking on lab work. But after RFS forward 3, this is even worse. You don't have any other mid to pair it up with, just a Peacekeeper. Which is fine, it's not the end of the world. Because for as long as you continue to lock them with a Peacekeeper, they're gonna get reminded that, yeah, I can't really move. It's like when you do a Hunting Hawk Ender, and then your Okizeme's Peacekeeper, and if they were pressing a button or trying to move whatever, it's gonna hit them. Or at least they're gonna block it. So now you could Hunting Hawk, and then now you could like running 3, dash up, down 3, 4, stuff like that. So that's kind of like the stuff you gotta build on. But you have to throw out the Peacekeeper first before anything else. Not unless they already know and they have like prior knowledge of like Hwoarang, right? So yeah, that's all the changes. And this is like a condensed list of like how Hwoarang's shaping up from the closed network test to the closed beta test. So same as always, RFF is buffed. Because again, RFS F44 is natural in heat state, and RFS down 4-3-4 is also natural in heat state. So these are worth risking. And so that means, again, if you get a counter hit on anything that transitions you to RFS, anything, because RFS F4 is pretty much guaranteed on anything that's counter hit for anything that transitions to Right Flamingo, they got launched. That's kind of big, because that could come off like counter hit down back 4 into RFS F44. You could, honestly, you could just commit to it. Just commit to it. Now, if you are mixing them up and you have them at the wall, that's when the Hell Sweep will come into play. Or even in open, let's say on Oki. Let's say you do up 4 3 plus 4 forward, DF 3-4 to like stay in left flamingo, then stance switch. Then you hit them with the the Hell Sweep or RFS back 3. Because again, RFS back 3 is just safe. But yeah, it's still pretty damn good. So heat, fantastic. Now you also have more versatility in right foot forward and RFS. Mainly more for RFF now, because again, you can do F1 plus 2, you can do RFF down 4, you can do up back 2. And right flamingo, the favorite best thing there is being able to do 3-4, the flying eagle. Punishment has improved, mainly because they gave the 10 frame. And we all know this is gonna work. I did get to punish a couple of opponents with it with 2 forward 3. DF3 plus 4 is the I-13 heat engager. Up back 2 probably could be your 13 frame while standing punisher for lows that recover standing, potentially. And then while standing 2-3, I-15 while standing launcher. And when I was using it off stream, it felt pretty consistent on a good number of lows that were -15 and above. Of course, I would love to like just sit in the lab and like test it against all the lows, but maybe when come release day, we'll find out how consistent while standing 2-3 is, because I've been hearing a bunch of mixed reactions on like its consistency. Just that, not the complaints about it. Combo damage and combo variety is significantly increased. You know why? Up 4 3 plus 4 forward. And of course, RFF down 4-4. But mainly up 4 3 plus 4 forward. Your counter hit game, you already knew this from the closed network test. But if you didn't know, back 4 is now -10 on block. So, but for the most part, nobody was punishing me for when every time I attempted a back 4. I'm pretty sure it's probably because they just didn't know. But yeah, now you'll get hit by, let's say, again, like if Feng does back 1, you punish them with a 1-2. Every time I fought a Feng, I always got that. So it's gonna be the same thing here as Hwoarang. Like if you attempt a back 4, you're gonna get hit by a 1-2. But if they're a little bit late, you can run away scot-free. That's how it works at -10. Now your tracking is more or less the same or slightly better, as previously mentioned with the left flamingo 1 and right flamingo 2 tracking situations. And from what I compiled in the doc, it's more or less the same. It is definitely slightly better, but the mids, man, I wish they caught a little bit more. But the highs and the lows, they catch in, so we gotta work with those. And while standing 3 still works there in most situations, you just get -12, you gotta risk it. Now, this is the one that's improved. You can catch a lot of stuff on backdash. Like, if an opponent attempts to backdash on hit or on block, I can catch you. If I wanted to catch you, right? Because in Tekken 7, you kind of just didn't really do that. If you did, it was really for the sake of locking them. Here, it's like, nah, I can catch you, and I can actually maybe convert it off into something else, like transform that situation into something else that's advantageous to me. And lastly, lows and flamingo. I think they're really going with this direction. They're making a huge trade-off. So the power low RFS down 4-3, the original Hell Sweep, is gone, right? In favor of RFS down 4-3-4. And that is NCC if you press the full string, or it will only connect on at NCC. And then RFS down 4, it staggers on block, but if you do get it to hit, it's +9 force crouch. So if the opponent presses a button there, they lose. So for the most part, you could always, instead of locking with an F1 plus 2, just to like really be sure, it's honestly better to RFF DF4 in that situation, or down 3-4. Go for ways that you can pressure them more if you're going to go for RFS down 4. If you're going for RFS down 4-3, I did use this a little bit more. There is hope for this move. It is -1 on hit, but you do get around 20 plus or 30 plus damage. It is the one that will give a lot of damage. And -1 is fine, because you can sidestep a lot of things after this. And for the most part, a lot of my off-stream games, when I hit someone the RFS down 4-3, they usually jab DF1 or down jab. Essentially, they throw out their I-13 or I-14 mid, they jab, or they down jab. And you can like SS or even like fuzzy SS low parry into a block and still like keep the position. Not necessarily punish them for the move they did, but keep the position. But now that you have like the read or you're not doing that input that I was doing, you could actually punch them after an SS. It's a sidestep. It's pretty good. Even backdash potentially. That one I didn't really do as much because I would get hit. I would be blocking the DF1 more often than not, or even the down jab. So I was always going for sidestep right after it. So there's like a huge mix up there as well. If you want to like utilize it further. So it's like learning how to use it even more. So it's the same way back in Tekken 7 how players were complaining that they couldn't press a low in right flamingo, or if they did, they had to risk their life. Now the complaint is I can't kill them for it. Well, for both cases, there are ways to make it work. And when I was playing off stream, I was having a lot of fun figuring out a lot of the puzzle pieces because I was selecting really strong opponents to fight with. And it's just like, yeah, you know what? It's actually good. And there are ways to like make things work around. Like I got pretty used to Tekken Hwoarang in a couple of days. Now I'm gonna have to like forget a bunch of it for a while, which makes me a bit happy and sad at the same time because I'll get to press while standing 3 a lot again back in Tekken 7. But then it's also only like, as the recording of this video, around 3 more months left for the game. So again, we're just probably gonna wait for the release. Again, we don't know if these changes are going to stay or not, but for the most part, that is how it's looking. And I'm just, again, this character hasn't changed as much. Well, technically he did change a lot, but for the most part, in terms of operation, he's pretty much still Hwoarang. It's just that there's, I guess, more things you could do on Tekken 8 Hwoarang, which I'm very excited to like play around with, because I tried doing that in Tekken 7. It's very difficult to do this couple of those things that I wanted to do in Tekken 7. So it's like, you can do it more in Tekken 8. But how is he looking like? Well, same as, what do you call this? The closed network test. I still think the character's an A. He's still good. He's not bad. He's not even mid. He's strong. I mean, the fact that you can launch punish low at 15, as much as I didn't really ask for this, is huge. Although my muscle memory kind of made me do up back 3 a little bit. So it's just like telling myself to wall standing 2-3. You get that wall, crazy. And so far, the wall standing 2-3 combo still sits at 50 damage. I'm just hoping that we can, like, fingers crossed, push it to like 55, 57, or even like a 60. 60 is a dream. If we can hit 60 damage, then we're fine. Because that was kind of like the damage you hit usually with up back 3-3. But again, you have to transpose it for like how Tekken 8 system's working. So there is going to be a reduction in damage. So it's just like, can we at least hit the 55 mark? Because 50, it's workable, but if we can hit the 55, great. But overall, as a whole, again, A. Whether that's A+, A-, or an A flat, that's all the 7 changes of Hwoarang in the closed beta test. I've been Frontier, and that's all the cheese I have for today. And thank you for watching.